Okay, hey, we're going to talk about very quickly what a system of inequalities, what its graphs look like. So I have this system of inequalities set up over here. That's y is greater than or equal to 3/4 x minus 1, and y is strictly less than negative 1/2 x plus 4. So those are the two that I'm going to graph. I'm going to take a look at what their solution looks like. The hint here is to remember that we need to use the y equals mx plus b, where m is slope and b is my y-intercept. So here we go. We're going to apply that theory to the first one here. So what I have here is that I've got one graph and I've got two graphs. So what I'm going to do is just apply and put both of these graphs onto one xy coordinate plane. So here we go. The first one, well, it says my -1 is my y-intercept, so I start there. And I take a look at what type of circle I'm going to put there. Because it's equal to, then any value on that line exists, and I can use a closed dot. So then I just utilize my slope. My slope is 3/4, which means the change in y or change in x. So up 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. And just very quickly before I graph, my slope was positive, so I'm going to check that if I go from one point to the next, that from left to right, I'm going up. And if you notice, my finger is going up, so therefore I've got a positive slope. So here we go. I'm now just going to draw my lines and connect them in there. So, sorry, I missed that one there. So there's my lines, it's in, and it's drawn with a solid line. So now I'm going to go to my other one. So my other one says start at +4. So I'm just utilizing y equals mx plus b, where the 4 is my y-intercept. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I just have to be careful that I put an open circle here. Okay, and the reason I'm putting an open circle there as opposed to a closed circle is simply because the fact that my value, that which I'm marking, can't actually exist, and if I put a closed circle, that means that that value exists, so I leave an open circle as just my marker. So then I utilize my slope, which is down 1 over 1, 2, so I put in another open circle at that value, and now that this boundary line gets connected with a dashed line, so there's my dashed line. Okay, so what I've got now is I've got my graphs are drawn, so the last thing that I'm going to worry about here, okay, is I'm going to worry about whether or not, okay, the last thing I'm going to worry about is the shading, because for an inequality you have to remember that the shading does exist. So here we go. So I'm going to go back to my graphs here, and the way that I do it, I just utilize with an arrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put arrows for the way that I would shade, and then I'll show you what I do from there. So for this one, okay, so number 1, it says that y would be greater than. Now y values are going to be greater than where my line is. So if I go to my line, all y values get greater as they go up. So I draw a little arrow going up, little arrow going up, little arrow going up. So I just draw a couple arrows saying that that line would be shading up. And then the next one over here, I go okay. This one says less than, so it's a down arrow, because y values get smaller as they go down. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to each section. So what you notice is that my two lines basically make an X, and that X creates 4 different areas. So I've got this area, I've got this area, I've got this area, and I've got this area. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a little point. And what I'm going to check for is do all of my lines, my arrows that for my shading, go towards that point. So this one here, this arrow points down. It doesn't go towards that point, so this region doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to go to this region here. I'm going to put a little point. Do my arrows go towards this point? So this one goes up, this one goes down. None of them actually go to this point. So that region isn't a good solution. And then I look at this one, I put a point down here. Well, this one goes down, but this arrow goes away from it. So this region is no good. So now what I'm going to look at is for the region that has solutions to my inequalities. So I'm going to put a point here. And if you notice, when I put a point in this region, this arrow goes to it and that arrow goes to it. So that means that this area is where all the shading will occur. So I go up here and I just shade in. So again, all I'm doing is checking what area gets shaded, and that's how I would do that problem. So I hope that helps.